What's up, everybody? All right, so today I'm going to go through a call funnel 1.0 tracker. This is a very similar setup we use to track and do 30 million cash collected last year on one singular call funnel. All right, so I'm calling this 1.0 because, and I'll kind of get into that about how more advanced versions and pieces of this. This is all demo data, so don't necessarily look at this, but I'll go through each piece and go through KPIs. There's other videos on the channel that I go through that. No guru shit, no, oh yeah, 9x all the time by any means. So you want to stick around at least until we get to this portion because this is kind of the more advanced ninja stuff, and then I'll talk about more automated ways and all that this goes. So first things first, just going through what KPIs are on here. So I marked pink for what is essentially an input and then a blue for what is a calculation, okay? So first thing you're gonna have is leads, apps, bookings, sales, count of sales, ad cost, new rev, and then you're going to have from that, you're going to have your ROAS, which is going to be your new rev to your ad cost, your cost per lead, your cost per app, your cost per booking, cost per sale, your app to lead percentage. So, right, how many apps came from the leads, your bookings per app, so how many bookings came from your apps, and then your sales per booking, right? And then all of these are going to have like breakdowns, right? Sales per booking is just a blended number of all bookings and sales, but like what goes into that is going to be show rate and reschedules and live. But this is just like, this is more or less a way for marketing and for kind of like overall to see. You're not going to use this for ad attribution and tracking. You're not going to do that into sheets. Like you can, but this just makes no sense. And I'll get into softwares and like ways to do automations of this. Calls on day. There's going to be how many calls were initially generated for the day. Okay, so like if you had 10 calls come in that were booked today but were booked for tomorrow, this would show 10 calls are on that day as when the call was booked for. Now again, this is also why you kind of want automated or why you want dynamic data going forward once you get to a certain scale, because calls on day is going to change dramatically when people reschedule, mainly when people reschedule, but when people reschedule, when they double book, when all that kind of stuff happens, because this would be a standard and like stay as a single record, which you don't want. Spots, this is the ninja part that I'll get into, but is essentially how many open spots are available on that given day. And then book percentage is the percentage of calls on day, so divided by the total amount, right? So, all right, how you're going to get this information in here. So there are people who do this manual and do it the day after. I don't like that, and I always like live data and automated, but this is like, again, 1.0 way to do this. Over time, you'll have all this in HubSpot and CRMs and all that kind of stuff, but like, even then, I still run out of a sheet for the big master. Now, it's all live and updating and has way more information in it, and that's why I kind of don't want to show it, because there's like customer data and stuff. But this is just the general, like what you need in KPIs to overall look and see what you need to do. So for leads, what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a tab here that's literally just gonna be the date and the person's email. I GPT'd I didn't need to GPT this, but I did. So all you're gonna have is the date that they opted in and their email, okay? Because all you need to do is basically be able to count, all right? That will then count those that are in there for that given day. Apps, exact same thing. Now, the question becomes how much data and what else are you going to do with it? Because if you have a Zap setup that says every time that these come in here, you want to put this in here, what else do you get on that when that happens? You get a lot more information. You get their name, you get like browser information, you get all that. So I'm a big fan of just all the data you can possibly get. So, but also being like functional and realistic. So for what you're going to use this for, the most you're probably going to want is like email, name, if you do phone number, all that kind of stuff. Because like over time you can batch them back and be like, oh, if they were a lead and an app and a booking, do this, that, and all that. Again, not something I'm like a super fan of just for this use case. That exists, but not in this. So name and email is fine. App, same thing, right? So now you're going to do the same thing with applications. So you're going to have the date that they came in. All these are just zapped in, right? So you just want a constant inflow of these coming in here. And then these act as like a database, like the simplest database in the world, but act as a database that you can then store, and you can come back here and adjust these records. But in current form, if a zap's coming in, they're pushing it in, nothing's updating it. Someone changes their email, doesn't get updated here, right? So you got to understand that this is not live in that way. It's live in terms of inflow, not in terms of updating, okay? Then what else do you want to put in here? You can do the same thing. Like you could put name, you could put all the application questions. If you have hidden fields, you could do all of that in here. But again, for this use case. And if this is our goal, you don't need any of that information. Okay. So that's apps. Bookings. This is the first one you're going to have a little bit more on. So this is going to be when someone the date that someone clicked to book, their email, the sales rep they're assigned to. This was important for us for a really long time because we had another tab other than the summary that would do it by sales rep. So you knew like how many sales reps had what, and I can get into that in another one. But another big one is the call date. So someone today booked a call for tomorrow, or someone today booked a call for today. So this is important. You want this because you want to know not how many units you sold today versus how many bookings you generated today. You want to know how many sales you had today based on how many bookings were booked for today. So a big difference there. And again, we learned all this just by doing it real time. And like we have evolved 92 times over, but like still to this day, if we're just like split test and just like launch a new offer quick something, like this is basically the setup we would still use because these are the only KPIs you need. And it's 95% accurate, 90% accurate, whatever, that it'll get you there. So booking, sale. For a sale, you want the day of the purchase. I do name and email on these because sometimes these are like a little bit more I want more information on this. The type of purchase they did. Any data you put in here is going to allow you to query by it. So if you want to know how many full pays your AOVs on these versus this, your AOV across the whole thing, the different type, the count of different type, like you can only do that if you have the data in here. So full pays, 2 pays, and then the amount that they paid, and then who the sales rep was. Again, if you ever want to have a sheet over here, a summary of by sales rep across range, all of that, you would need the sales rep information here, and you need the sales rep information here because because the only time a sales rep is assigned is booking and sale. Ads, this is how we do it still to this day, where it's the day, it is the total, which is basically a sum of the different traffic sources. So like for us in this example, and these are again just demo information, but the traffic one would be Facebook, so you just have Facebook up here. This would be Google with brand search, retarget, right? Simple stuff like that for these numbers at least. And then whatever, TikTok or wherever else you're running, LinkedIn, ads, and then spots. I'll get into this one, but spots, well actually I'll just do this one now. So ads back here, this is either you do it the day after, which we did for like 3 years, every single morning after, plug in the daily spend, pop it at the ad accounts, and then plug this in for prior day. Now we use Adveronics, and this automatically does that. Okay, so this is I think free. Maybe it's like $100, but I think it's free forever when we used it. And this is very, very helpful. It can be every 15 minutes or something like that. Can auto update, pull to your ad accounts, and then you can pick which ones it does of these, and then it'll just stay automated. So then over here, real time throughout the day, you have leads, apps, bookings, sales increasing, and then you have your ad costs increasing as well. And then ideally new rev, and then all of this is relatively live flowing. Okay, same thing with calls on day, and then spots. So for spots, I gotta figure out a way to get you guys this, but what you need to do is we have a master calendar, call it sales@whatevercompany.com. Okay, that calendar subscribes to all of your sales reps. Okay. So when you click on that calendar, on the little plus in Google Calendar, wherever you guys use, you can see everyone's calendar down there. You can click on day, and you can see everyone's across, right? And people share all the screenshots like, oh, we're full booked and all that. It's like that. Now, we hired somebody on Upwork, cheap, I don't even know, $50, $250, somewhere in there, to build us a Google script that will read that Google Calendar and is going to tell you the open spots available across those calendars 30 days in advance. Okay, so what that looks like in like reality is that you'll have 4 sales reps and they'll be 50% booked. Okay, the Google script is going to look across what range. So for us, the hours are 8 a.m. to midnight Eastern. So it's going to look from 8 a.m. to midnight Eastern, and it's going to find all of the 30-minute, because our calls are 30-minute blocks. It's going to find all of the white space of 30 minutes, and it's going to count that as 1, right? Throughout each person. It's going to log that into a master sheet that's auto updating every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, across by their email, the sales rep email, and then down by date. And it's going to have, this person has 4 availabilities, so they have 2 hours, right? Because 30 minutes. This person has 12 availabilities, so 6 hours. This person is 0 because they're on priority and they have no open spots. It's going to rank them all. And then over here, it's going to have a sum total of everyone across the day, which is what marketing needs. They don't care if one person's fully or the other's not or whatever, but like just for marketing's sake. So this will tell you that you have 6 open spots available tomorrow, basically meaning that the Google script went off It is live updating. And the Google script went off and found that there was 3 hours of open spaces across the entire sales team that are available to book. Okay. I gotta figure out how to get that to you, but it's not really that complicated. But like, I think we learned it from I'm forgetting his name right now, but he does it with his Google Calendar to like count how he allocates his time, and we're like, oh, we should build one of those. So hopefully there's a tool out there that does that by now, but we still use the custom one. So why that's important is because booked percentage is a target that we use for marketing. So marketing constantly is trying to keep calendars 80% booked. Again, this is 90% accurate because calls on day is going to fluctuate, and spots is basically going to read only into the future. So if like things happen in the past, it can't read that, which it shouldn't, but that's a back and forth thing. And then spots, and then you get book percentage. All right. Notes, big key here that we use. You update an opt-in, you want to test a new email flow, something that is just overarching to the company or to the marketing more so of the company. Like just throw a note in here. It's super, super helpful. Like if I have ours pulled up over here on the side, but like a price increase. We tested a short form booking page. We turned splits on. We ran it 14 days. We killed the splits. All right. So all of that is just important to track in here, just because you want to over time be like, why, when you look back and you have months of this, you're like, we were steady humming at 56% or whatever, app to booking or booking to app or whatever you want to call it right here. And then it trended and now it's at 40 and it's been at 40. Like what changed over that time? And then this makes it so you can make decisions is all this is about. It's just literally being able to make better decisions. All right. So that's the gist of how to get all these in. Okay. Lead, app, booking, sale, ads, spots. Okay. These are all of your inflows. Now, how do you do that? Zaps, Make, whatever you want to use to do that. A VA, it doesn't matter. I mean, you want to do it automated because you want to be able to see this real time throughout the day and get kind of like, okay, cool. Right now I can see, especially for this, like we're targeting hitting these numbers. So I'm going to plug in some actual numbers now and just plug them into here and just overwrite these. But you see the formulas, they're simple. It's like count these ones, sum anything that's multiples. These are all formulas of what exists on this sheet, right? And then same thing, counting, summing, because this one's you want, because it's one field, and then same thing on sheet, right? Very simple. That's the whole point. It's 1.0 tracker. Very, very clean and simple. Now, let me plug in some actual stuff. I just picked a random day of August in 2024. So for us, and I'm just going to overwrite these just so you can see. I'll do this actually. So here, so we had 1,200 leads. We had 213 apps. We had 102 bookings. We spent $35,000. We had 23 new units. We did 157. This is a special day, so this actually was probably bad. So we'll run twice a year specials that are internal. Or no, it wasn't. 8. I don't know. I actually cannot. I can look back at this later, but I believe that we ran a special that day. And then calls on day was 149, and open spots was 59. All right. So again, no guru, no whatever. I'm just telling you this was a day that we had on 8/12/24, okay? And then the day after we had a 2.7% ROAS, and the day after we had a 1.8, and then a 3.8, and then a 1.6, and then a 5, and then a 4.9, then a 4.9, then a 1.9. So like it bounces all over the board, but like what you'll be able to do is get trends and get averages across those. All right, so now that I'm using this is actual data in here. So this would be live pulling, real time. But now you can see, so we spent 35 grand that day to do 157 in new. Now, how our sheets exist is a bunch of these versions of these tabs, but for like sale, for example, we have the entire inflow of all money that comes into the company. So this marketing piece of this is like this part of a sheet that's this big, that is an entire cash flow statement for the entire company. Okay, that has all expenses that come through QuickBooks, that have all income that come through Stripe. So active, low ticket, like anything else would come in there as well. So in our sale, for example, that sale tab, ours is like all inflows of all money. Then we have it categorizing as what's new, what's active, what type, what sales rep, all of those things. We have a refund tab that then pulls back. Like we have all of that over time that's evolved that all just started with this. Because we make decisions based on this, then track and also then make decisions on the overall cash flow of the company there. And then of course we have QuickBooks and all that for like proper books and accounting. Which even that is like we're tentative on if we should move off that because of how big we are now. But like it's such a simple in and out flow that it still makes sense for us. But all to say, this is a simple version. Okay, so $35K spent to do 157. So we had $28 cost per lead, which is actually interesting because like I look at this now and I'm like, all right, our cost per lead right now on average is 18 bucks, call it 18, 19 bucks. And right now we're having a down period. And like, again, no guru bullshit. Like we're having a down period right now where the sales are not backing out. So marketing is like checking all the boxes. And that would be a question of, okay, cool. So if we have 16 and 19, whatever dollar lead, but they're not backing out, is it just a quality issue? Like, are we just, or is how the new marketing is set up or how wherever pockets of traffic we're in, is that just bad quality? Because it doesn't matter if your lead cost is $6 if no one buys. Like I'd rather have a $50 cost per lead. And then as long as it backs out to what really matters is just cost per sale. So on this day, $28 lead, $164 application, $343 booking, and a $1,500 unit, okay? So a 17% app to lead, and at that range, that's where we were, that was very steadily there. Now our numbers are higher. Right now they're 20 to 25% lead to app. And that is because we've rolled out V2 of application. We changed up how it was. We made less free form. We did all that kind of stuff. So we have a higher percent of that now. App to booking. This is when we had a little bit less of a... So one, we had no routing. So we had no financial qualifier. So we had no routing up or down. So like this is basically giving everyone an opportunity who applies to book. And then it was a little bit less friction in terms of like the text that was on page to get them to stop or whatever. And sales per booking on day, this is just raw, all bookings that were booked for that day at one point is 22%, all right? So calls on day, 149, open spots, 50, 9. So we were 71% booked. Now this is even low because what we have the media buying team, marketing overall, optimized for is trying to get 80. So we just try and always stay at 80. We don't want to go higher than that because I mean you do go higher than that, but like you start to go too high and you're just burning money because there's nowhere for them to book 2 days in advance. And that's the thing to monitor like over time because right here, what this will actually look like is this. 5, 0, 0, 0, 0. So when this is actually built out, it'll look like, so what is this, 200? So you'll have 150 spots, then you'll have 180 spots, then you'll have 190 spots, 190, 190, 190, 190, whatever. Rough numbers. Obviously, it's going to change day over day based on sales team availability and all this. So you're going to see on day, you have this. You're generating 100 bookings in a day that are starting to fill today as well as tomorrow, and then how many available spots do you have tomorrow, okay? And what you're going to constantly have the media buying team is like, okay, cool, so like our target is this 180, 190 a day. So if we have 180 and we want to fill 80% of that, we need to target 145 bookings. So we just round up and say you want to generate 150 bookings. Our current cost per call is $340. So call it 345. So like, in order to do that in this example, and again, those are just like thrown out there because if you look at this, what we were actually booking was 150, right? But in that model, you'd be spending $50K a day in order to fill that. So again, this model is at some level hamster wheelie and like you constantly have to fill and you constantly have to be able to do that. And this is when we are operating even in current state until the end of this week with no setters, no load ticket, no nothing, just straight raw. Someone books in, gets on a calendar, try to sell them, right? So they're managing 150 bookings on day, which this is a legit number. These are actuals. So there's 150 30-minute sales calls booked for that day. Across at that time probably I don't even want to give a fake number, but I think it was probably 20 something sales reps at that time. We got up to like 30, and since we have scaled down because frankly we had a big like marketing style explosion. We were filling calendars at like half, and then we moved everyone to W2, and then we did all these changes. Then marketing started to refill, and like basically where we're at now is cost per everything is dialed, but it's not backing out. So it could be sales team vibe, it could be quality, but the quality's there. We have financial qualifiers now, so you can see them. And then the biggest thing is you have 2 sales reps that are performing extremely well. And if you look, and like they have the same lead flow. So then it would go to tell you, it's all just like, how do you make decisions? How much data do you have to make good decisions? If you have 2 people with the same lead flow that are doing well, and then you have the rest that aren't, it's like, okay, cool. So it's like an overall skill and vibe thing, generally speaking. And or what else can we do? Which is just increase show rates. From a tech perspective, it's like increase show rates, add more consumption, try and do these things to get them higher quality. And then on the media buying Facebook side, it's like, what can we do to like optimize better for the right type of person, and do that. So yeah, so that's the general gist. Technically, I can go like crazy in depth on how the 2.0 of this is basically having all of this data live within a live updating database that then you can query across and do formulas and do all that stuff. I personally hate HubSpot forms or reporting. I literally hate it. Some people love it. I just am not a fan. I use this sometimes when I need to, I think it's SheetGo. I think it's this one. Yeah, I use one of these that is a tool for HubSpot database to push into Sheets. That's real-time live updating. And that is like game changer. So I will take like the contact table inside HubSpot and have it live updating and only select the ones I want for what I'm trying to track and what's important to a certain team or like deliverable or KPI. And I'll push it to Sheets because it's so much better for me to do like formulas and across and like ranges and auto update than it is for me to do HubSpot reporting. But over time, you're going to want this in a live place that like you see your lead flow, not in a sheet, but you see it in your CRM. And like, but then how do you tie it back to ad costs? So you need ad costs wherever that same location. It's the place that you can marry all of this information. We use Looker Studio for sales team, for commissions, for coaching, for like a couple of these different pieces. We haven't fully fledged into some pieces. It's just like the important stuff, and everything else I build in these still. As long as the data is live updating somewhere, this is just a viewer. So it's like you can use whatever tool you want, but if I can finagle this and change it and make it so we can make better decisions, which is the whole point, not for it to be sparkly and shiny. It's like to drive behavior, to make better decisions and drive behavior. So for a sales team, yes, you want sparkly and live updating with, you know, fireworks and stuff when something happens and competition and all that. For an operations thing, I need accurate data to make better decisions. It doesn't need to, you know, motivate and like be sparkly. So yeah, that's the general gist of this. I need comments on what else you guys want, because I have like a ton of just random things that I'm just gonna start going through, and I just figured this one would be helpful based on yesterday's video talking about the math, and I will be very interested to see. Like I said, yesterday was very theoretical in terms of low ticket stuff. I have some math on it. The parts I don't have are like that setter math, and like I could have a 20% set rate instead of a 60 and all that. So I'm excited to see how it plays out and then give you guys updates on what the actual math backed out to. But this is going to be helpful if you don't have one of these. And again, pro tip, do it with the whole company. It's the same methodology. Think systematically, and you need all the money coming in and you need all the money coming out in there, and then do it on day, and then do it by category, and then you can do cash flow statements. You can do all the same stuff. And I can go into those in future videos if that's of interest to people. I just have to build them out because showing ours gives private information. So that's what I got today. Sorry if I sound like this, I'm sick, but we keep going. So talk soon.